Glitter, a 98-minute music video devoted to Mariah by Tricia Donnellan, age 19, status pompous as fuck. And she gave this an F. Pop princess Mariah Carey's semi-autobiographical film debut, Glitter, is nothing more than a typical movie-goer would expect. It is undoubtedly pure bubblegum. In fact, the viewing experience is comparable to chewing a piece of ABC gum. I'm in angst over recovering the brain cells that were destroyed during this tedious viewing process. I hope that I still have the mental efficiency to provide an adequate synopsis of the film, as is to deter even the most extreme of Mariah Carey enthusiasts from also risk-taking their well-being. So here it goes.
Does she seem cool?
I don't know her.
If you recommend it, we will review it. And I never said that it wouldn't be a biased review because this is one of my favorite movies of my life, Glitter, starring Mariah Carey, my life idol. She's just perfect to me, and she could never do anything wrong. She sings the best Christmas music and every other kind of music that she wants to. So this will be a completely biased review on my part. I'm just going to put that out there now.
Because typically what we do on Strong Female Lead is we explore the female characters.
Yes.
In movies and deconstruct, just the representation, how it's done, the movie, etc. I'm not positive this is going to be one of those.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's a full deconstruction. I don't think you can deconstruct Billy.
I see issues with the film. I just overlook them.
Right. There's a lot going on
for
here.
entertainment value.
Totally.
The je ne sais quoi that is Glitter.
I'm Tricia.
Hey, and I'm Tessa. And we've got a special guest back for a little double feature. Patrick.
Back again. Hey,
He
guys.
needed it. He needed some SFLing.
Yes.
And I've never seen this movie.
Which is shocking. I love it.
I mean, I was shocked watching this movie. I didn't know. I knew that everyone was saying it was bad.
Lies.
I mean,
Lots
it's like
of
one
reviews, 7% on
of
Rotten
the
Tomatoes.
worst
But look how many
movies.
reviews it has. It has 20,000 reviews,
That's
which
true.
for most movies is like... Most movies have hundreds. This is 20,000.
Yeah, everyone jumped on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
At this time because we needed something to hate in 2001, and I guess
Everyone
that was
was
Mariah
so
Carey.
mad. Everyone was so mad. And I think it flopped mostly because of when it came out more than it was horrible.
Sure. That's definitely it. But we did do this movie because it was suggested by one of our super fans, Ronaldo Krikorian. Thank you, Ronaldo. Thank you.
I said I would never do it.
Yes, but you asked and you shall
But you
receive.
asked and you shall receive, yes.
And you also left us an incredible review on Apple, and we'd like to thank you for that, and we will do a dramatic reading of that at the end of this episode.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
Yes.
That's
yes.
fun.
And in one of my favorite accents, so just get ready. Stay to the end. It's going to be
I definitely
amazing.
advertised the fact that we would do something in a North Atlantic accent. I can't really do one, so it might have to be just you doing it. As long as you're good with that.
Oh, we'll get it recorded. We'll.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's better if we're a little not great at it. 'Cause we're not
I don't
trained
know
actors.
how to do it other than saying
Hey.
things old-timey.
We'll listen to the recording. We'll listen to the accent, and then we'll
Yeah,
probably
just
be able
listen
to.
to some Katharine Hepburn. You'll be fine.
Oh, Katharine Hepburn. Yeah, she really did do that. She was good at it.
Look at here.
Well, so listeners, if you do suggest a movie, we will definitely take it into consideration or just do it without question.
Yes.
And this episode is an example of us doing just that. So take it away, Tessa.
Well, 2001 was a bad year up until... Well, that's not true. It was also bad in September.
I was waiting to hear just how fast the nation was able to recoup.
Some of us were so excited for Mariah Carey's film debut, and that person was me. and I just lost it. I love this movie. We're talking glitter. And so I'm just going to give a quick little synopsis, and then we can just go minute by minute.
Okay.
And just deconstruct.
Oh, minute by minute. Wow.
Breath by Sweet Breath.
Sweet
Notes
breath.
by Sweet Notes.
Yes. We're talking clothes. We're talking music. We're talking performance. Tricia is letting me lead the episode, and so this might be 3 hours long.
Okay.
Solidly.
Fantastic.
Okay. So the movie, starring Mariah Carey, follows the journey of Billy, who starts off as a child. Her mother is a singer, and she... I
was getting my medicine.
That was so scary. Don't say that.
What, like that?
Yeah.
My medicine.
What?
That's going to come back.
Yeah,
That's going to come back.
for sure.
Yeah.
What kind of voice is that?
That was just like...
I don't know.
It just sounds like you're like, it's not medicine. No matter what is in that jar.
Right.
It's not medicine. That's the point. But what is it, though?
Oh my God, guys, I'm heavily addicted to nicotine lozenges.
Oh.
I quit smoking like 6 years ago, and I've been on the nicotine lozenge ever since. It's cheaper and whatever. I'm an addict.
Okay. So the story follows the life of Billy, who starts out in the movie as a child. We meet her mom, who's also a singer and like nightclubs. And then through tragedy, the mother and daughter are separated. But the mother has imparted on her daughter, Billy, a dream and a love of music that carries her through the rest of the film. We follow her as she discovers herself, realizes her dream, falls in love, achieves her ultimate goal of performing at Madison Square Garden. It was amazing. Everyone cried.
If it weren't for this movie, A Star Is Born would have never been made.
That's what I was thinking the whole time. I'm like, this
Yes.
is A Star
It's
Is Born.
it's like the first version of A Star Was Born without doing a remake of A
Right.
Star Is Born.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was totally the same thing, except A Star Was Born it was more accepted and just better because the acting.
Well, I didn't think the acting was terrible compared to like most musicians turned actors. This was not terrible.
She had the same
She had
look.
some moments.
She had the same look throughout the whole thing. She looks down, she looks sad, and then she looks up and she does a small smile.
Yeah, she had the.
It was
part of the
tell me it
director.
was not the same thing.
I would
Some of the
say.
director, like if you're not giving them a believable performance out of your actors, why are you not coaching them? Why are you not like?
It's interesting because at this time, like Mariah Carey was going through like a lot of mental health
She
issues,
was.
so I think she was just heavily medicated or like putting her like through a bunch of different medicines to try to manage her mental health issues.
Yeah.
So
And there's
I don't
obviously
know.
reshoots.
Yeah, I don't know if she could physically do it. You know.
Yeah, there's definitely reshoots because her weight fluctuates a lot in the movie.
Fascinating. I didn't
Another
notice.
side effect of mental health like medication.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, interesting, Mariah. You get your health done.
Well, that's a great time to throw her on screen.
You know.
Right in the middle of her mental health
Life
crisis.
imitating art, imitating life.
Yeah, maybe they should have delayed it a little bit, but I mean,
Give her
you
some
know,
uppers for the day, downers for the night, and some antipsychotics throughout. And you have glitter.
There you go. And I kind of liked when Mariah Carey gets all sassy and stuff because that's the Mariah
That's
Carey we
the real
love
Mariah
and
Carey.
we need to see. Like
The diva we all came for.
throw in some shade, give me the diva.
She got mad at him finally at the end, like that kind
Yes,
of thing.
when she was acting like a normal person, like in the beginning, and she's
Yeah.
like a backup dancer or
We
whatever.
don't know
and
her
I'm
as a
like,
normal person.
I'm not buying this.
Oh
She's not
my
a backup dancer for Padma Lachki. Are you
I
kidding me?
loved Padma. I was like, oh my god, I forgot you were in this.
Totally
Padma
shocked by that.
loved it.
The sightings in movies like this
Yes.
are hilarious. I didn't even know Padma acted.
Me
I think She was
neither.
a model.
Yeah.
And I saw her. I was like, I watched this on YouTube and it was pretty cool.
Me too.
I was like,
Me too.
Is that Padma? And then I didn't expect her to be in it as much as she was in the beginning.
Right.
Yeah, she's like a prominent character.
Yeah.
And her bad singing was really good bad singing, I must say.
Yeah,
wasn't
it
so
seemed like
bad.
she wasn't.
It's not.
Oh, I thought she just wasn't a singer. Like it was a perfect person to put. That would be like me singing.
Yes. I mean, I don't
mean,
know
her-
if Padma can really sing, but
Yeah, like nobody's signing Silk, and she's also like, we're comparing her vocal to Mariah's, so
Right.
she's trash.
And the Mariah we know would not have been okay. Ghost singing.
oh my god, that made me so mad.
I mean, she's like
That was really prevalent in the 90s, ghost
Totally,
singing, and in the 80s
Yeah.
also. So I was
It
like,
was.
again,
But Mariah
life
would
imitating art, imitating life.
Mariah would have never been
She
okay
wouldn't have
with it,
stood
though.
for that. But when she
You'd
reveals
be
it to the
surprised at how many big
Really?
singers have been like used, like their vocal has been used with like without their, well, not without their permission, but like in that type of scenario.
Who was the big one in the 90s where they got found out?
Milli
God.
Vanilli.
Yes.
Girl, you know it's true.
Say, blame it on the rain.
Yeah.
Love
That's crazy.
Millie. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it was prevalent. I guess it's hard for you to separate your love for Mariah from this movie. It's hard for me to think of Mariah in any other way than the Mariah I know today. Like the Mariah going to her childhood home in heels and a gown. And while it seemed like she was just going straight from Madison Garden, it's a jump to the end, but that was like a Mariah that I got. I'm like, she is just getting on that, like walking across that lawn, just in her like Louis Vuittons or whatever she's wearing.
She's never not full glammed out in my mind.
Wouldn't she be?
I said Louis Vuittons. Is it Louis Vuitton?
Louboutins.
Okay.
I mean, it could be
Whatever.
Louboutins.
I'm from Ohio.
I don't know.
I was like, I didn't know they make shoes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I don't really know.
I don't know. I think that this movie gets a lot of flack because it's Mariah. I don't see a lot of differences between this movie and A Star Is Born, other than obviously Barbara Streisand is a better actress. Obviously, she's
Or
a
Judy,
theater actress.
or Gaga. Any of the Stars Born actors are better than Mariah.
And the singing,
This is
like
her
Bradley
first
Cooper was a really good singer. Although
And I think I think like, I know it's hard for me to
mean-
separate, like, I mean, obviously I'm not advocating that Mariah get an Oscar for this role or even
Sure.
a Tony. Not that that's a lesser award. But I do think that like so much of people's negative review of this film is because it's Mariah and we all have this image of Mariah that's like a diva, and a diva is a bad thing. But I'm like, I don't really think that a diva is a bad thing. I think it's actually a good thing. Ask for what you want. When she like finds her agency like halfway through the film, I was like, yes, she is an SFL in my opinion. I think she is very like timid in the beginning, and she doesn't know herself, and she loses her mom, and she makes these like two best friends who are like who she meets in like is an orphanage a thing?
Something like that.
it was,
yeah.
it was some sort of
Unclear.
foster
Yeah,
care.
it was foster school.
Let's just
It
say
was
school.
It was a building where they
Boarding
had children,
Right.
and its parents weren't
It
around.
looked like an asylum, and I was like, I'm concerned, but let it go. But she goes through all of that, and then she gets into the relationship with Dice, her DJ producer, who
Got a lot to say about that, man.
Lucky Seven.
I hated him so much. I hated him so much.
He was very gross. I liked how he knew how to spot talent, and that was fine. But it was just so cliche. Just the bigger she gets, then the more his ego gets hurt, and he tries to take her down. And God, and just the scene at the after party or whatever they were at, that whole thing was just gross.
He's possessive, he's controlling and manipulating her. Like, very problematic love interest in this movie. And then
him being a power figure and her
Exactly.
being with him from the very beginning, like kind of like bringing her in under his, under his, I don't know what you say, but I'm losing myself in the description, but bringing him in and taking her,
I didn't like the whole changing contract, buying Mariah between Terrence Howard and Dice.
Yes,
it was
treating
like-
her like an object.
Yeah, and I was
Not
like,
cool.
hey, fuck you. She doesn't need any of you to be successful as a musician because she's amazing.
Well, and he's not even hot enough to be like having all this like Mariah being in love with him. Like, that dude looked like, I don't even know.
He's a poor man Stephen Dorff.
Exactly.
It was a
exactly.
very weird.
He
It's
had
just
his
like
shirt off all the
looked
time, and
enough.
I'm like, put your shirt on. I don't want to see your hairy nipples. Like, get
Yeah,
out of
too
here.
skinny.
You can fully be clothed. Be clothed.
Yes.
He
So,
didn't-
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it just, the whole producer talent love relationship is just a very weird thing.
Looking
me
at
in
through a
general.
2019 lens, you're like, ugh, this is like really like not cool. Not cool.
No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't.
But we're looking
Bring
at it in
people
a
on-
2001 lens. Oh, is that what you were going to say?
No.
Oh.
No, it's problematic in 2001 and it's problematic in 2019.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, I think that that's just an awkward thing to navigate when you're in a romantic relationship with someone who you work with, and not only work with, but who is your superior. I think it was weird then because we saw, what was that movie where they're 9 to 5? So since the 80s, it's been bad.
Sure.
And it still happens with directors and actresses and, like very
like
prominent
once
figure.
whatever you're contracted to do together ends, but keep it under wraps until.
But them not having a contract, because she probably never even really signed anything when she was working with Silk. Maybe she did, but then they didn't even incorporate her rights into anything between, I mean, they could definitely negotiate where she was, but she had to be a part of the conversation, and she wasn't at all, which then ultimately led to violence and death.
Yeah, but I think that all of those scenes, in my opinion, were necessary to show her not having agency as a child, not having agency as a young person in the workplace, and then finally, taking her agency. Unfortunately, it does end with someone being killed. But without those establishing things, we would, again, assume that she is Mariah Carey and not Billy, who is her character in the movie.
But we'll refer to her as Mariah Carey.
Yeah.
So you can't.
So how did that guy die? I think I missed it.
He got shot. Terrence Howard killed him.
Oh, I totally missed this. I don't know what happened.
It was a very, very short scene.
I knew he died. I just didn't really remember how.
Yeah.
Which kind of sums up this movie. Yeah.
Something big happened. We're not sure how.
I don't know what happened. But, she got her dream, and she, finds her mom at the end. And that's great.
Yeah. That's great. But I wish we would have seen more of her, had more establishing scenes of her home life. I knew it was bad. You could tell her mom was, a struggling singer, extremely talented, was not getting, the work that she wanted, took her daughter to all the lounges and stuff, and et cetera, and then burnt the place down with her cigarette. But I wanted a little bit more, because Mariah was so dedicated to her mother still that, and I think that is very common for that to happen, even if you have a childhood in which the parent isn't giving you what you need, you still love them, but they seem to have a lot of love for each other. So I wanted to see a little bit more of why they were so connected, and also more of the dysfunction. I would have liked that for at least, give me 15 minutes rather than 2 minutes. That's all I'm asking.
I didn't want any more, because they do have the cutaway shot where the black mother is taking Mariah Carey, Billy, to the father's house to get money. So it kind of shows you that she's unwanted by her father and whatever's going on in his situation. And then the mother is unable to take care of her on the salary of a lounge singer. But I wish they would have been more explicit with that it's a drug or alcohol problem, because they do make it a drug and alcohol problem at the end, which I'm is rude. She could have just been a struggling lounge singer.
Right.
She didn't have to be an alcoholic, and she fell asleep. It didn't look like she was smoking weed or strung out on crack. So I was this is unnecessary.
But
details.
She was probably drunk.
She didn't have to be. We don't find that out
weird,
that she's sober until 3/4 into the movie, and I'm just she could have just been struggling.
Would have been a more interesting choice, I think. Yeah. And that's kind of the movie. I think there's a lot of more interesting choices that could have been made at every turn. Not that this movie's bad. If this movie was on Lifetime, I'd be pour it up all day, every day.
Seriously.
But if you're going into
we expected more. It was
this was a feature
movie theaters.
film that was released in theaters, and I think people went into it with higher expectations. I came into it with low expectations. Therefore, I think I met somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I definitely think that this could have been an MTV release, when MTV made movies.
Oh yeah, where Beyonce was Carmen.
Oh, that hip opera.
Hip opera.
Oh, that was so terrible. And Terrence Howard was there too.
He was.
I never saw that.
Well, you really missed out.
Yeah.
The hip opera.
Oh, I love that shit. That was so good.
It did need a different platform. The movie theaters, it's too big. That was too big for it, because it wasn't awful. It wasn't an awful watch this time around.
Given the timing of its release, also, people weren't so interested in going to movies, and because it was immediately
September 21st, 2001.
So it's 10 days off of a terror attack.
Its opening gross was $2 million, and its worldwide gross was $4 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cumulative gross $5 million.
I'd be interested to see how other movies slated to be released that month did. Because I
Yes.
just don't think people were going out and doing anything.
I bet it bumped up within a couple of months because people want to kind of not forget, but like
Right.
need an escape and stuff like that. But
can
that
never,
month,
After a
you can
poor
never
opening
forget.
weekend.
Never forget.
9/11, everyone.
Can never
but
forget.
It's interesting
I
with
did
the
forget it
entertainment
earlier in this
industry.
episode.
you actually.
Yeah, actually, you did. You did.
Yeah, I did. Okay, fine.
The entertainment industry at this time, it's so interesting because the way that celebrities talk about it, like looking back, like Willa Ford is like very notorious for saying that 9/11 ruined her career. And I'm like, Willa Ford,
You had one song.
you had one song, and,
One.
and her second single was released around 9/11, and it flopped, and she blamed 9/11. And it's like, girl, like, we have bigger issues at that time.
Just
than your
re-release
single.
it then.
And also, Willa Ford, your single's probably not that good.
It wasn't.
Ay.
I'm sure it wasn't.
Yes. Also, Jessica Simpson's album came out around that time as well. Her second one. And
What
she
a
blamed
shame
it on
for
her-
Willa.
That's
know?
probably accurate though, because she was a star in the early 2000s.
She was. Well, that
And
was
then Ashley usurped her. I love Ashley Simpson.
me too.
And I love that Evan Ross she's married to. They have a cute ass family.
They do.
Yeah.
And
Ashley
they had an
Simpson's
album
beautiful.
out. They had an album out. Her and her husband.
They had a what?
An
They
album.
had an album out?
Yeah.
I didn't know he sang.
Yeah. And
Makes sense.
Diana Ross was like, "It's all right."
I love her.
I love it. Diva. The
I
best
love a
kind.
diva.
Speaking of divas.
Yeah, seriously. No, I thought it was, yeah, I mean, the timing, a little tough. But I mean, I was in college. I was a sophomore in college when this came out, and I was slated to write a review about it. And I shared that review with you, Tessa. How did that review make you feel? The title of it was a 98-minute music video devoted to Mariah. And I gave it an F.
Well, it was an incorrect grade. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't finish the article. Because I was like,
Too upset.
she doesn't get it, and that's fine.
I didn't.
She doesn't get what's happening here. And even if it was a 98-minute music video, it was a great music video.
Can we talk about the music video with those men with the painted bodies? Oh, and what's up with her painted body? She always has a
want
paint.
that.
She had a thing of like
silver-
Silver paint on her arm sometime, and I'm like, what is that? Because I want it.
But it was always in different areas.
Yeah.
And it became like my
very
like
weird.
Easter egg. I'm like, where's the
Yeah.
silver in this scene?
It's on the clavicle in this scene.
Someone has documented every location of the silver. some lamb out there. She's got her lambs. Those she calls her fans.
She looked like a lamb in the movie, I thought, like when she would just look down,
Yeah.
look up.
She's got that. I mean, she is a good music video actress. Like, think of all her music videos. Like, you know, when what is that one where she's on a tire swing? Always Be My Baby.
Yeah.
And she's
Love
like swinging
that
on
song.
the tire swing.
Love that song.
Good stuff. Or a
Yeah.
fantasy video when she's on the roller coaster and she's just like
I like Honey with her and Diddy, and they're all like spies and stuff.
in the gold like outfits. I mean, iconic. These are like iconic.
She's a great
things.
personality. It just didn't translate in this. And some of that can be the script, too, you know? And it just seemed, I don't know, maybe it wasn't the time for her. But
I think it was rushed a little bit.
I think
Yeah.
it was rushed. I think the reshoots were obvious. I'm going to blame a lot of this on the director, because I'm like, what was he asking for? She, excuse me.
Written by a
Wow.
woman and directed by a woman.
Ooh,
Oof.
that's
I know.
a little
That's
bit
rough.
shocking.
Which is interesting because this is very anti-feminist
Oh.
message at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's problematic.
There's some problematic things, but, you know.
You know what I like, though? How
Overall?
natural, like, just people looked different back then, and people on screen looked different. There wasn't as much plastic surgery, or if
Yeah.
it was, it wasn't the type that happens now where everyone's features start to look similar. And I'm not against plastic surgery. I'm a Botox bitch. There's no judgment anywhere, but there is something about how people start to kind of blend together in terms of the length of their hair, the color of their hair, the shape of their lips, the shape of their nose. And like, this was before that. And I make all these like super shitty comments in my review about Mariah Carey's chest, like being like basically something that's super focused on in the film. And when I watched it again, it wasn't
And like, she doesn't even have like
it wasn't
huge
at
boobs.
all,
Yeah.
and her boobs were not that big. And so I was being a shithead because I was just tearing down Mariah Carey like an asshole and talking about how it was mostly just a the movie was a devotion to her and her looks, etc., because she's beautiful. But watching it again, her breasts look very real. They were not like up to her face. And I realized of the time, like how different bodies look now. I watched it and I was like, oh wow, she's really covered up. And I just couldn't believe that was 20 years ago. And now, it looks like she's super modest in all of this and covered up. And I just wanted to say sorry, Mariah, for those comments, because that wasn't cool, even though I didn't love the movie back then. But she was gorgeous and she looked natural. And that was nice. I liked that part of it.
Yeah, I think it's like interesting because as a lifelong fan of Mariah, like she did start out super modest. It's only like when she hits her 30s, like after the time of Matola divorce, after this movie come out, that she really like leans into her sexuality. And I'm like, I don't know if that's just some sort of like, I'm now in my 30s, this is my time, this is my body, I'm gonna do what I want. But like starting out, like she was pretty modest. Like she's wearing like tights and like a lot of her early
during
like,
that song like
MTV Unplugged. Like she's like pretty covered up. Like she might show like some midriff, but I was like, she's definitely like not the Mariah we see now, who's always in like a mini dress. Yeah. But then again, if I was Mariah Carey, maybe I'd wear a mini dress all the time.
I barely noticed her boobs, so I could not. I mean, I looked at them just because I knew that I referenced them in the review, and I was like, oh my God, like, what a prude I was, what an asshole. And then also, like,
but you were nude modeling, so what?
Art.
Artistic, yeah.
It was in the name of art. You're right. I was a total hypocrite. Like, I was 19, okay? Like, I do feel bad sometimes for people who have stuff that they put out there and then it's there 20 years later. Like this podcast, which I'm sure we'll look back on someday and be like, holy shit, that is the danger of creating something and having it out there. But yeah, I was 19. I was an elitist. I was a hypocrite. I thought nude modeling because it's arty and I was a hippie and I didn't like Mariah. And I've grown to really like Mariah since then. But I don't know, man. Yeah, I was a little shit. We'll post the review. You guys can all make me feel like shit. I can put it up there. I should. I need to own it. But I still think the movie sucked.
I don't think it sucked. It was pretty good.
Let's talk about the themes, though. And you just said anti-feminist. So what? Tell us more. I mean, I think I know what you mean. You probably know what he's going to get at, but was it mostly the relationship?
The relationship and like going like back to this manipulative man, and then at the end, like when he dies, she gives a eulogy at like I guess Madison Square Garden is where she's doing this, and she's like, he was great and I loved him, and cherish the people you have because they'll be gone. I'm like, this is what we're saying about this man. Like that's the story arc of the movie.
I think that it was double talk. I think she's talking about him and eulogizing him, but I also still think she's talking about her mother.
That I'm on board with. Then get the man out of there and make it about the mother.
Yeah.
Like, I liked the relationship with the mom and Mariah and that little actress who looks really sad all the time. That was like the saddest looking child actor I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my God. And I was concerned. I was like, why did you cast a white child in this? And Mariah, nobody believes that you're naturally blonde. No. Not a single person.
I mean, the child was, she was beautiful. She was definitely white. Yeah. And it looked like she was super sad. Yeah.
She was so sad. But when she sang that little Mariah Carey singing, I was like, oh, they really nailed her, like, vocal tics, you know?
That was a voiceover.
Yeah, of course it was Mariah singing a baby voice.
That was one thing I didn't.
I can't do Mariah.
Does that high scream thing?
Yeah.
Those whistle notes?
Yes, if I could do a whistle.
Oh, God.
I thought that was one thing that I thought was super strange was all the voiceover. I was like, you have Mariah. Have her sing the song. Why is she, like, lip syncing to her own track?
I have an answer to that because I'm looking at, like, all glitter trivia, and
I love that.
She didn't record her vocals until right before the release because they were worried about piracy of like the movie leaking. So a backup singer sang all the tracks and they played them for recording, and then Mariah Carey recorded her tracks and then they reinserted it in the movie. So that's why she's lip syncing to everything, because they were worried people were gonna leak the film.
That was the beginning of Napster, so.
Oh, wow. So even just during filming, they just thought her singing like that?
They thought someone would leak it somehow. I don't know how. They didn't have cell phones.
Tape recorders were so big back then, so I'm
Right.
like, you would have noticed. So it's just
They had
been
like
much
their Nokia
harder.
phone, like, you know, you can't. The brick.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that trivia though. I know what you mean about the relationship. I guess, I mean, I thought that he definitely, near the end, was showing a side of him that was not good and was basically going to hold her back so that he felt better or push her along, but kind of then withhold as a result, like his affection or his whatever. And I thought that was shitty. I didn't get the feeling that it was, at least based on what I saw in the movie, that it was all like entirely an abusive relationship that had been going on like that for a while. I wasn't sure if it was coming up because of what was going on with them or it was overall unhealthy. I mean, it wouldn't have been surprising that she got into an unhealthy relationship, seeing how her past was. But yeah, I wasn't sure if I thought he had an abusive side or if he was just being a total fucking asshole and like was just he just felt bad about himself and was being a prick about it. I believed that they would have gotten back together had he not died.
Yes, yep.
And that was the part that I was a little like, okay, so I wonder how he would be. I mean, he did sort of like lunge, like aggressively move towards her in that one scene without touching her, and she had slapped him, and that was a very like 90s, early 2000s sort of like slapping was like still a real thing that you did, at least in the movies. Like, I have never slapped a significant other.
Never.
You know?
No.
And I mean, but it was very, you know, it's very Saved by the Bell. Like, Kelly just like slaps, like just like, I'm done. And it seemed like the thing, and I don't know where that falls on the spectrum of an abusive relationship. It's not good. It's like abuse light.
Yeah.
It was a light version. I wasn't clear.
Implied abuse,
You know,
maybe.
how far did it go? Was it really there? Were they on the cusp of it becoming that way? Like, for him to act that way, there's something about him that was going on. I think they would have stayed together at the end. Would have been different.
I totally think they would have gotten back together.
Yeah.
But I agree that that relationship is definitely anti-feminist. But the thing I would have changed is not her eulogizing him at the end. It's the scene where she goes back to his apartment and kisses the music and like leaves him a little heart with the B on it, and she's I was like, wait, her name's Mariah. No, it's Billy in the movie.
I thought she was grading it. I didn't even understand that.
Oh my God, you're so on this grade scale because you gave it an F.
I thought she gave it a B, and then
Mariah gave the movie a B, you gave the movie an F.
But I think the thing to take out is that scene where she's just so sad. And I think it would change for me the whole tone. And she's just
You're
so
right.
sad about not being with him. Not she's come to some revelation about like, this relationship is salvageable. We can do work on this. Like blah blah blah. She's just like, well, I got really sad and lonely, so let's get back together. Like, not he's done any work or made any changes or anything. Just I got lonely. She got Madison Square Garden full of people waiting to see her, but she's lonely.
it was anti-feminism, and it's interesting because I mean, even strong women, you know, we would look at, and they're strong in other ways. A lot of women will fall into relationships that end up like that. And I think it's natural to be sad, even if it was controlling, you know, because there's still whatever that connection that was keeping you there to keep it going, part of the cycle, like it's still there. But we just didn't really see a lot of like any sort of exploration of like what that relationship would have looked like had he been alive, or if she realized that something was really wrong with it. It kind of seemed like she left because he was standing in her way, and good for her, she was going to make it happen, but it wasn't like he's
make it happen.
It wasn't like he's going to be like, oh, he's not right for me, or this wouldn't work in the future. It was more like a pivotal moment for her career. So I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what would have.
I do think that, again, that scene where she's coming back is completely unnecessary because he already has the ticket to the show in the scene. So he was going to the show either way. Mm-hmm. So we could have just saved ourselves a little bit of anti-feminism by cutting that out. And I also think that I think I understand why they kept it in, because this is the part that's very reflective of her relationship with Tommy Mottola, where it's a similar scenario where she comes onto the label and he's the head of the studio of Sony.
Was she married to that in the studio?
Yeah, that's the first marriage.
I forgot that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, she's putting a
Okay.
lot of herself into this movie.
Yeah.
But also, I think where I lost it with Mariah for this, as far as like being on the bandwagon for the relationship, when they're in the limo with the friends and he calls Debrat fat, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now? And
Call my friend
Debrat
fat.
and the other friend leave,
Yeah.
and they're like, come on, Mariah, let's go. And Mariah's like, rolls up the window.
Does she seem cool?
I don't know her.
I'm like, Mariah, what are you doing? Get out of the limo, bitch.
We have to insert so many I don't know hers into this episode.
Exactly. I don't know her. I don't know her.
That sucked. That whole night, how he was acting that whole night was a total
be the
fucking
end.
disgrace.
That would be it. That would be the end of the relationship if it were me.
I get it. I would like to say that would be the end for me too. I think that it's easy to say that
From the outside.
a person
You're right.
should leave if something like that is happening. I know in my own relationships, and I was in a relationship when I was younger that was pretty controlling in my early 20s. And I've always been very independent, like fiercely independent. And it's very weird because typically what draws you to a person like that is something you need that they're giving you. So then you have this weird like tie to them where it's like you're giving up getting whatever that is. And sometimes then you'll act or make decisions that wouldn't align with how you would interact with the rest of the world. I would have gotten out of the car. I don't know if I would have ended the relationship. I could say right here, though, I would have gotten the fuck out of that limo and been like
don't
peace
call
out.
my friends
Yeah,
fat. That's like
exactly.
incredibly
I'm fucking
rude.
out of here.
Yeah.
And then take some space, and then you can you start to see all of the things that are happening, but you can't when you're in it. And when you're living with them, oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a bad move, and it's Debrat.
I know.
I mean,
I love her.
And
Also,
her dancing, she was
She was great. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I think there's like one other music video out there where the brat is like actually dancing.
yeah.
Dude, she was fucking
And I was
phenomenal in
like,
this.
she's amazing.
And this was her first movie role, and you know, she was good.
She was
good.
funny
she should be
and
in
light.
more
They
movies.
should cast her in Fast and Furious. I would love.
Oh, that'd be
female
amazing.
Tyrese. Just replace
She'd be-
Tyrese because he's now boring.
I was gonna say,
With
put her in a
Brat.
Lifetime movie. I'm all
Yeah.
about that.
Ooh,
That'd be
I thought she was
amazing.
great.
I would watch that.
I thought she was funny and she was good
Yeah.
actress, and yeah, that was a bad scene. I mean, like I understood, yeah, he's feeling all this, blah blah blah, but then to come up and to cut off that conversation with Eric Benet, who is kind of sleazy, as we know, but like
can sang his ass off.
But yeah, totally.
Right.
And that's a trigger for me though. When someone like cuts me off or tries to control me in that way, I'm more likely to have like just like a primitive response to something like that where I would be like, oh no you didn't. And I would be so fucking pissed. That's probably what I would have lashed out about. I've been like, I'm sorry,
It's
you
kinda
made
just
this
like-
decision?
Yeah.
Fuck off.
It's kind of like the men you'll meet in Hollywood. Like, the one who'll try to sleep with you, the one who'll cut you off, the one who doesn't listen to you, the ones who'll make decisions for you, the record company. And
Make
like,
fun of what she's wearing, and it's like she looked amazing and it wasn't showing too much. So he was just a little fucking baby. Fragile fucking baby. What did you expect? You brought someone on with extreme talent. Go along for the ride, dude. Fuck that.
Exactly. I would have probably dropped him once he spoke to my friends like that. Dice, I can't handle some things.
Yeah, I mean that would be
Just like if someone told my friends or me to shut up, this is over. There's no redeeming that. You obviously don't have any respect for me, or for my friends, or for my opinions. This is over. That's a hard no.
Yeah, that's
That's why I didn't mind at the end that like he was running to meet her, and if the storyline was going to continue and he not be murdered at the end, they probably would have gotten back together because that seems realistic to what would have happened.
It wouldn't have
with
ended
these characters,
right
Yeah.
then. Think about Rihanna, like fierce as fuck. Like it's just anyone. It doesn't matter like how you're acting in other situations. She kept going back to Chris Brown. It's crazy. Oh, Rihanna. Oh, God. And God love her. And I do appreciate that when she was interviewed and, they're saying, you need to do this because you're, people look up to you. And she's like, I'm a person, like I'm not, no, it wasn't a great idea. It was a bad choice and it was violent. But I'm not here for people to make relationship decisions based off of what I do. And Chris Brown, wow, he seems to still be doing fine.
He's around doing fine.
Mm-hmm. I can't believe he
making black women angry every month or so.
There you go.
I can't believe he stuck around in terms of like success though. That really
he's just like featured on things. I don't know if his
He's
solo
not what he
career-
was. This definitely derailed him. He was on like a Michael Jackson track.
He was.
Has derailed him.
oh God.
And I think it's because it's Rihanna. If this was any other girl that he was beating up, everyone
Sure.
would be like,
That's fine.
I
the
know.
song still
She's not
slaps.
famous.
Like,
Yeah.
And that's super sad too because of how we don't, like with the R. Kelly thing and how that lasted as long as it did because his victims were black women, and it is so shitty, and it says so much about us how we don't address certain issues and certain, acts of violence or control or manipulation because it's a community that's marginalized. And Riri got, a lot of attention, but there's so many women. Oh my God. That R. Kelly thing was a fucking downer. Did you watch it?
Didn't watch.
Did you watch it?
Oh, I can't. It's like too disturbing.
It was one of the worst documentaries.
Lifetime.
And it was
is
on Lifetime.
It is on Lifetime. But I only do Lifetime movies, not Lifetime documentaries or TV shows.
My threshold is pretty high for disturbing, and that one
I
made me feel
I knew
sick.
I wasn't going to learn anything I didn't already know.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know all of
It's
it.
been around. It's been around. I mean, all those,
I knew it was
all those
happening,
stories. I
but
mean,
I
I've
didn't know
heard
how many.
crazy stories.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they're just the stories from the victims themselves.
Yeah, and I'm from Chicago, so like we've been hearing this for forever.
It was in his studio here. That's where he kept them. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, and he had an apartment in like Trump Tower. He's got his house in Atlanta. Like women everywhere. Women be under.
And now we don't hear anything about it. He was charged. He was
R.
arrested.
Kelly's like an
but
interesting scenario because he's a hard one because some of the women who he's abusing are like of the age of consent.
except Aaliyah, who he married.
What's the age of consent in Michigan?
Well, they faked a signature. Her parents didn't. They needed a signature from a parent, and one of the producers that was involved signed.
That's great.
So,
Yeah, with the exception of Aaliyah. But like he's found this very disgusting gray area where he has thrived. Yeah, and it's disgusting, and I know he's guilty. His trial's coming up in the spring, and hopefully he will be found guilty. Hopefully
Okay.
he doesn't just go to prison. Hopefully he gets some help.
Yes.
Some real psychiatric help, because he's a man with issues beyond his sexual preferences.
Yeah, but then all the people around him, that doesn't happen.
Him.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in, a little microcosm. There's all these people that, he wasn't even able to read and write that well. So to be able to get all of these things done and to manage the logistics of everything, he had a bunch of people doing stuff for him, and that's so scary.
Yeah, well, that's like the scariest thing that's ever been conceived, which is the dark web.
Tessa brings
It
up
is
the
my
dark
greatest fear, the dark web.
web. He wasn't using the dark web. He just got them in
that's
person.
the fact that it exists and that there's so much crazy, disgusting content out there, supplied and demanded and supplied,
Right.
insane.
How do you get on there? I don't understand the dark web because I
Worst
hear it, but
fear is someone's going to send me a link and something that I couldn't not open, like a H&M coupon, and I'll be oh no, it's the dark web.
It's not easy to get on because
Okay.
I've looked up some really crazy ass shit and I have never been able to get on the dark web. I don't want to.
No, I don't think anyone should. They should turn it off. Can they turn it off?
No, because it's the majority of the internet. So what we use is a very small portion of what's actually out there. But it's, I bet you could get in.
And H&M coupons.
Oh, right. Give me Instagram and I'm good to go.
I've got on some like Reddit links that I'm just like, ooh, like I might get somewhere weird, and then I've like kind of freaked out and stopped. And then there was another one, another Reddit type. I think some might trickle into some of those threads.
Yeah.
So I think if you want to stay away.
Yeah, I'm just like thinking of every episode of Law and Order Special Victims Unit. Like, it's not that crazy that these things are happening. Mm-hmm. It's really just an anomaly that this is a person with his level of fame who's committing. Or
I don't know. I think a lot of famous people do fucked up shit. So
yeah, Illuminati stuff. Is that what you're?
Anything. Yeah, I mean it's all
Illuminati,
crazy,
bitch.
So, you know, I don't.
I love Illuminati. What do they do with their eye?
Wow,
They do
that's
this thing.
That's a thing.
I don't know.
You look like Lady Gaga right now.
Yeah.
So there's Illuminati
She's gotta
videos.
be.
Well, that's why Star is Born did so well.
It's true. Mariah Carey needs to get in the Illuminati. That's what we've learned here.
Apparently,
I think.
She did it
Beyonce
grassroots.
and Jay-Z are big time Illuminati leaders.
Anyone successful probably is.
Yeah.
So I am.
Yeah, me too. You know what though? If you go into YouTube, I fell into an Illuminati hole where they talked about the symbols of it, and one of them was this thing they do with their eyes. So then they just had all of these pictures of celebrities and in a lot of different poses, and a lot of them go like that, and that's like a sign.
I mean, that's a very generic. It's like a
Yeah,
little
it's like peace.
it's like you have like
And
little eyelashes.
I know. I was sort of like, so
jiggling, you know?
everyone is in it. I'm like,
Oh
God.
my god.
But Glitter did have an amazing diverse cast. I'm gonna give it to them.
Yeah.
For the 90s, or I'm assuming it was filmed in '99, but for 2001 release, diverse AF.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
It was.
I think I think
Is
every
Mariah
group was.
mixed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I thought maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I didn't even know that. Wow.
Really?
No. I don't know.
What'd you think she was?
Mariah. I don't know. I didn't think about it.
She's just Mariah. I mean, that's not wrong.
Not really.
I didn't think about what her ethnicity was. Yeah.
Yeah, almost every lead or major role is a POC. So, got to give it up for that.
Except for Lucky Seven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Terrence Howard comes in as Terrence Howard does. It was a perfect role for him.
No.
And he acts exactly the same as he does now.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing.
What is that MTV movie where he got like the Oscar? At least a nod. With where he's a drug dealer, record producer.
Oh, yeah. Hustle and Flow.
There you go.
See,
Wow.
this is
It's
exactly.
hot out there for a pimp.
And Empire.
Make the money for
It's like the
bread.
same kind
Yes.
of. He's all about it.
Yes, and I'm like, that should have been the same release that. I don't think that was released wide. I don't remember. Maybe I just saw it on MTV.
I don't know.
But
I think it got a wide release to get an Oscar. Because it won Best Song. Because 3-6 got the Oscar, baby.
Yeah, that's true.
Ooh, we could talk
They
about
had a great reality
3-6
show.
all day. I could
What's
talk about
3-6?
3-6 Mafia. Oh, you know, speaking of, Illuminati or like things, 3-6 Mafia is like my mafia.
Is it a band?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're great.
Rap duo.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if you would like them. They're kind
Follow My
of.
Knob is a
Yeah.
great song.
Jesus.
Slap on my knob, the corn of the cob. Get with me and do your job.
We'll add a little clip of them in this.
You should.
Oh yeah, it's in the pod.
Okay, so,
Good stuff.
well, what do you think? SFL, top build,
100%.
move the plot, has her own agency.
Yeah.
You think she fulfilled all of those?
I think for sure she fulfilled all of those, and I loved the journey of her not having that agency and it being so obvious. The parts of the movie where she doesn't, taking a little bit of control.
She was pulled along through her entire life. It seemed like even in the beginning, background singing, and then by Lucky Seven, Dice Man, whatever, and just like everyone's just yanking her along, and she happens to have talent, and then she did. She gained her agency, or she took it.
I even love when she just stopped the song which was just so dramatic and diva-like, where she just stopped
put
the
her
song
hand
that
up.
was playing. Yeah,
That was
she
nice.
A single hand, and I was like, oh.
Oh, I did. I
was
loved
nice.
that
Yes.
moment. I was like,
It's like, oh, take your agency, girl.
I really did.
And
really
yeah,
like
do
that.
the songs you want to do, and I loved that she finally did her own
Mm-hmm.
music instead of just doing the pre-recorded tracks. And
Oh,
she
those tracks
said
were
her
bad.
speech. They
Those
were
tracks were bad.
Totally. No.
Although I do know the words to all of those songs too. So
Do you think? I think she was an SFL.
I'm gonna say probs not.
Because of how she acted in
I
the relationship.
think with the relationship, it kind of. I mean, I understand that she is a female being manipulated by a man. However, it just really rubbed me the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised at the strong feelings I had about this relationship. I need to work through some stuff after seeing this movie.
you need to watch Something Borrowed because it's another friend relationship where you gotta watch
Yeah,
Something
that
Borrowed.
friend thing really rubbed me the wrong way because
really-
I put my friends before like everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my family obviously is up there too.
Yeah.
But friends are really important to me.
Yeah.
So if my man is treating my friends like that, that is not
You see other
acceptable.
people like that, and I'm next.
I would.
Yes.
I
Yes.
agree, though. I would have been. I would have been so livid if he spoke like that. I don't think a relationship that I was in could survive someone taking down your friends like that. And such a shitty, like, lashing. I was such a. Ugh. It was gross. If anything, it's a turnoff. And then all of the super negative aspects of it, like, well, if you can talk to them like that, you're going to talk to me like that.
Yeah, so if they took that part out, I'd give it to you, but I'm going to have to say not a strong female lead.
So, yeah, and I understand that. And we hit this wall with some characters because some of them are within certain situations or universes that don't really give them a lot of agency, but do they have agency within it? And I don't think she does until she leaves him. That's the only time I actually
By
see
him
the
dying.
agency. Well, she broke up. Okay, so she like moved out or whatever before he died.
Okay, right.
Just that moment, I think, was the first time I saw it at all, and that was only
she
a
turns down
piece.
people a couple times in the beginning when she's like, I don't need you, blah blah blah. But I was like, but then you like immediately the third time someone asked, you're like, okay.
I don't think she exercised a lot of agency. She's barely an SFL for me, but she did at the end. But then, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think it was a character that I would look up to at all. And I love Mariah, but I wouldn't, if I had a daughter, I wouldn't want her to look up to the character in this movie. Sorry. Oof.
Separating Mariah from the character here, you know?
The character in this movie.
Billy Frank, not a strong female lead.
I mean, eventually I think she became one for a bit, but no.
I'm gonna give it to her still. I don't think I would want anyone's child to look up to Billy Frank as a character. I think that would be strange. But I also don't think that this is the type of movie where you would end up really loving Billy Frank. Like, I think most people who come into this movie are looking at Mariah Carey and are probably bigger fans of Mariah Carey than Billy Frank.
But like Gaga in A Star Is Born is someone you could look up to. You know, like at least I thought.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't look up again to the character. I'd be looking up to Lady Gaga because I think that she's a phenomenal musician, artist. But then again, I didn't love her as much as everyone else seems to in A Star Is Born because I would have preferred a no-name or someone from Broadway instead of not looking at Lady Gaga because I know she can act, I know she can sing, but I wanted to be involved with the character, which Bradley Cooper gave me, and so I understood his accolades. But I didn't so much understand hers because we already know that you can do these things. So with an asterisk.
Well, and that's a good point to make. Maybe Mariah Carey in this movie would be better suited with a different leading man. I think the actor Max Beasley is not doing her any service in this movie.
No, his DJing was so bad.
I agree though. When you put,
it's like, did Paris Hilton teach him how to DJ? Because he like barely touched a record or looked at records, or he had the one headphone. So
that. What would we rate this? Tessa, you go first.
Obviously, 5 out of 5 mics.
Ugh. I mean, yay.
Yeah, 5 out of 5.
It's fun. I'm like, no, I'm not advocating that this movie receive an Oscar or any sort of awards, but it's a good time. It's very watchable, even if to laugh at. Some of the clothes are hilarious, and the music is great. Definitely get that soundtrack. Yeah, it's a good time.
Okay. I'll give it 2 mics because I don't want the lambs to come for me on social media. So, I'm giving it 2. If you wanted to watch glitter, I think you should watch Britney Spears' Every Time video, and you're fine. It saves you a lot of time. This movie was basically Every Time music video in a movie.
Oh, I've never seen that.
I don't know that song.
Every time I come, I don't even know the words.
I feel her through you, and she's losing her kids.
I know, yeah. But her Every Time video stars Stephen Dorff, and he plays an abusive, boyfriend.
Oh my god!
And I think it's basically the same thing.
Holy shit!
Yeah, I'll have to look the video up.
Britney kills herself in the end of the video.
Wow!
I know, it's dark. It's dark.
Jesus.
Oh.
God, I feel bad for Britney. Save Britney, man. I would give this 2 out of 5 mics as well. It's higher than my previous rating, which was an F.
Oh, yeah, what's your letter grade now?
Oh. A D+.
You say that through like wince teeth, like I'm going to hurt you
know.
or something. I don't care. It's not changing my opinion of this movie at all.
I'm slightly
still
fearful.
on cloud nine.
I mean, that's pretty good. A D+.
Yeah, a D+.
These get degrees.
So,
That's not true.
D's do get degrees.
They do? Are you serious?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I always thought it was C's get degrees. I guess
thought
I
it
aimed
was
too
C's.
high.
Yeah, seriously, I thought it was C's too.
No, it's D's. D is passing grade.
I mean, D makes sense that it's passing. It's just a low grade.
It's a low
Yeah,
grade.
you barely. It's a 59.5.
So, Patrick, do you want to plug yourself?
Oh, great. Yeah. So check out Lifetime in Court. We talked about it last week. If this is coming out on a weekly basis, I'm not sure. Lifetime in Court. It's a podcast about Lifetime TV movies. It's great. Okay, thanks. Yeah, that's all I have.
You want to tell your social medias?
At Patrick Miguel or at Lifetime in Court.
Perfect. And you can find us at Strong Female Pod on Instagram.
Yes, and we're also on Twitter. Give us your recommendations. We're SFL_Chicago.
And you can find us on Facebook at the Strong Female Lead podcast. And please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple. It really does help other people to find the podcast,
Yes.
you know.
And everyone wants to be ahead of the trend, so get on them, get on board.
Yeah. And we, as promised, we are going to read a dramatic reading of, or give a dramatic reading of a podcast review. And this was submitted by Ronaldo, who we did glitter for. Ronaldo, we love you. And we're going to, oh my God, I just saw the title of it. Okay, this is amazing.
You're cold reading this right now?
This is
That's impressive.
amazing. The 5-star review from Maram Ronaldo is titled Church of Latter-day SFLs, and this is our best transatlantic accent. The first thing that comes to mind for review was how swimmingly there was delicious banter, no discussion chat about Black Mirror San Junipero by 20 minutes in. 20:05 and we're back on track. Woot! Enjoying the first portion of talk, then having not seen the San Junipero episode, I thought I'd taken all the spoilers and discussion anyways. Then I did watch it right afterward. Yippee! I'm so glad with Hillary's help we all decided that undeniably the jury is hung on whether the girlfriend really passed over or if everything is just possible, so yep. Who said they might choose to go to the prehistoric era San Junipero that's nifty? Tee-hee. And maybe Tessa's pick was the 19-teens era.
And on that note, please be reading this review in a 1920s cat and jammas accent if possible. Much obliged. Now, thanks for the episode recommendation, and after all, very wonderful. Heads up indeed. So I wanted to suggest that 1/2 clicks for all you to view is Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, 1991. Because, well, SFL alert. So, early, it's actually the leftover 80s, which Tricia should relish. But so late, in the super late 80s, so as not to discourage Tessa from being intrigued.
Mm-hmm.
Lastly, I have the idea, is a girl walks home alone at night, 2014. A vampire. I know, dark comedy, LOL. Anywho, arrivederci, Army Ronaldo.
Smiley.
Smiley.
That's it.
That's
Bye-bye.
it. Yeah, give us more accents, give us more reviews. We'll do our best.
Try our best, guys. All right, until next time. Bye.
Bye.
I don't know her.